Finding your photography style can feel really intimidating. You look at other photographers and think, they have a look, they have consistency, they have something recognizable. And you wonder, do I? Here's the truth. Style isn't something you choose, it's something you uncover. You don't develop style by copying what's popular. You develop it by noticing what you are consistently drawn to. This is real. I've been sharing this concept for years in my workshops, how our own innate style almost chases us down in so many of our images. Your style is hiding in your patterns. So let's take a look at how you can uncover your natural style. First, look at your light. Are you drawn to soft window light, dramatic shadows, backlight? Clean, bright scenes? That preference is part of your style. Another thing to look at is your distance. Do you love the compression from longer lenses? Or do you prefer the immersive wide angles? Changing focal length doesn't just change the framing, it changes the experience. That's why I talk about the lens-led seeing concept, because when you look through a lens, it alters the perspective, the impact, and literally the experience. For me personally, I find myself loving the wide angles most. I call myself a wide angle girl, because if I'm leaving a lens behind to lighten the load, it's always the long one. I can never be without my wide. And if you look at my website gallery of travel and landscape images, it's primarily wide angle. I typically use a portrait lens for portraits, obviously, because it's the most flattering, and that's pretty much job security for a portrait photographer. But even then, I often throw in a stylized fun shot with a wide angle just for spice. Actually, it's just for me. So third, look at your mood. Are your images quiet, or bold, or minimal? Maybe layered, or moody, maybe airy. Style is an emotion before it's visual, and you can often identify the emotion as a consistent theme. I know for me, my images will often turn into colorful, positive, hopeful, emotionally strong, even if they don't start off that way. In the editing process, they just gravitate to my liking and my style naturally. So I did a little exercise and I made screenshots of all my travel and landscape images on my site, and I asked ChatGPT, who I call Chad, to describe my style. It was very interesting, and here's what he said. Expansive, luminous, and reverent. That sounds cool. Those aren't even words I ever use. What an education it was. It was really validating, actually. I love this description. Romantic style, as in mood-driven, painterly color, emotional skies using wide lenses with immersive perspective. Doesn't that sound good? I would highly recommend this exercise to help you see your images from a different perspective, with words you might not even use very often. Here was my prompt into ChatGPT, and I'll include this in the notes. I want you to analyze these images attached and give me 5 words, emotion, style, vibe, mood, descriptive term, that represents my personal style. I'm writing, or in your case, reading, a blog about determining your style by seeing the images you're typically drawn to in light, impact, emotion, lens choice, and mood. That was a mouthful, but I'll include it in the description. So here's a practical exercise for you. This weekend, review your last 20 images. Ask, what light repeats? What focal length shows up most? What mood is consistent? And what do I naturally edit towards? Don't judge, just observe. Let's reframe this. Style isn't something you invent overnight. It emerges when you give yourself space to explore. You don't need to become someone else to develop a style. You just need to become more yourself. Isn't that great news? You need to be more aware of what you're already drawn to. I'll see you next weekend. I'm going to Las Vegas for 5 days to explore with a new camera. I'll be excited to share my new content and discoveries. So this week, give yourself permission to play and keep exploring through the lens.